Hey y'all, this is Allie Spears, your host of the Ag Chicks podcast, where I cultivate connections with the women who are helping feed the world. Alyssa Walsh is the owner and founder of Sweet Briar Creative. She's a proud Cyclone graduate, an Iowa native, and has recently set roots in Kansas with her husband Daniel. Located in the heart of the Flint Hills, Alyssa is surrounded by the pulse of the cattle industry, which fuels her inspiration daily. Together, they run Regal Cattle, an operation focused on equipping youth with the tools to succeed in the show ring for the season, but also the genetics to build a business around for generations to come. Alyssa started Sweet Briar Creative from the ground up during her time at Iowa State University. The original goals of the business was to display her self-taught videography and graphic design skills to future employers. As the business grew, she leaned on God's calling for her life and took it full-time following graduation. Alyssa moved to Fort Worth, Texas, where the business truly had the chance to grow from a college portfolio into a uniquely specialized marketing agency that it is today. Sweet Briar Creative now serves clients all across the country and even worldwide. Since her leap of faith, Alyssa has loved the opportunity to speak on stages near and far about the importance of starting to chase your dreams now, not later. Committed to igniting the entrepreneurial spark in young people, she's enthusiastic about continuing to grow awareness and drive positive change in this topic. Alongside these efforts, Alyssa recently launched a set of digital courses instructing eager students of all ages how to learn design and video techniques. Above all, she attributes her success in business to God's sovereign plan for her life. She hopes that Sweet Briar Creative continues to point her audience toward Christ and aims to keep him at the forefront of it all. Please help me welcome Alyssa to the Ag Chicks podcast. All right. Well, I am very excited to have Alyssa on today. She is somebody that I have looked up to for a while, just via social media, from her amazing creative content, but also just her approach to business and interaction between providing a tool to the agriculture community through her creativity and her business. And so I'm very excited to have you on today, Alyssa.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm pumped. I think it's going to be an awesome conversation. And man, I just feel so spoiled to have these conversations and get to, continue to further AgCom and the broad industry that is.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of AgCom, I'd love to know your background, if it started in AgCom or kind of what maybe led you to where you are now in terms of your background and your journey.
Absolutely. My background is pretty untraditional, probably compared to a lot of your guests that you have on. I actually grew up a generation removed from ag. So I definitely would be lying if I said it started day one with AgCom. But through 4-H and FFA in high school and growing up in a very blessed chapter in Iowa, we actually had 4 different ag teachers. Oh, wow. That is truly what roped me in to, not only being passionate about the ag industry, but truly understanding what it was. So through those experiences, contests, judging, I figured out, I kind of like this industry and I really enjoy communicating about it. And from there, I found roots at Iowa State and majored in AgCom and eventually added a minor in animal science and a minor in general business. But still was still trying to find my path in this large umbrella of communicating about the agriculture industry. And I began to seek out skill sets that I was mildly good at and just had an interest in. And for me, graphic design and videography quickly rose to the top of that list. And I started building a portfolio of these skills. And I always joke that being an entrepreneur was truly the last thing on my goal list. I love people. I love working on a team. And for me, going to work in corporate life at an agency was where I really envisioned my next steps after college going. But as this portfolio grew into truly a business, I found God really just pivoting my plans. And so I ended up taking the business full time after graduating, and that was in 2021. And after that, I moved down to Fort Worth, Texas, where Texas was home for quite a few years and loved my time down there. The business flourished in the South and still allowed me to fly back and serve my Midwest clients. And I just recently got married. I'd say a lot of my clients are joking with me that it's the only promotion I'll have, upgraded to a wife. And that promotion landed me a relocation in Kansas. And I have just grown to love the Flint Hills and am really excited to be here, and am running the business full time from Manhattan.
Yeah. Okay. So you have had a lot of moving around, changing, shifting, and I do love that you always keep kind of your faith as a center point for what you do. I think we could use a little more of that sometimes, and so I love how you have that rooted into your business. But that being said, in terms of kind of the changing and growth that's involved with entrepreneurship, when you started, what was kind of your starting point of like services you were offering? Or I know you said graphic design was kind of where you rose to the top, but was it logos, or what was like, where did you start in terms of offering things?
Yes, great question. So for me, I started just saying yes to any opportunity that would allow me to learn the Adobe Creative Suites programs, right? Um, as an Iowa State Ag Comp student, we weren't blessed with classes that allowed us to learn that inside a normal classroom setting. So I knew that those were skill sets I wanted to have to use and showcase for future employer opportunities. And so I just started raising my hand for projects like a t-shirt design, a flyer for a club that I was a part of, maybe a logo for a family friends operation. And I'll spare you just the pain of looking at these initial designs. They're not good by any means, but they were truly low risk, low pressure scenarios where even if I failed, and I did quite a few times, no one's going to remember that 1 to 2 months down the road, let alone for the rest of my career. But it allowed me to practice those skills and put them on my portfolio to gain bigger and better projects. And so, yeah, some of those were logos, ads, and then I really started to get my in with video through the wedding industry. And that's kind of an untraditional, funny story we can dive into as well if you want to. But just truly saying yes when the door is open, if it's a project that's going to allow me to build my skills to the next level.
Yeah, I do want to dive into that in just a minute, but going back to kind of your explanation of developing your skills and not maybe having those learning opportunities through the classroom, because as someone who has gone back to school now at this point, thought there would be a lot more utilization of kind of teaching some of those skills in the classroom, especially at the higher education level. And I just haven't quite found that. Have you? I always joke I've attended YouTube University. What was your like process? What did that look like in terms of kind of learning some of those skills? Was it trial and error, or what was your approach to kind of figuring some of that stuff out?
Well, we went to the same school, truly. We were getting the same degree there. Yeah, I would say the skill sets I use in terms of technical skills on a daily basis are self-taught.
Mm-hmm.
I do have mentors that I've looked up to, but in my mind, action brings clarity, and you're only going to understand what skill sets you're good at or what skill sets you even like to do if you dive in and practice them. And so, yes, YouTube was my best friend in those early years. And I do think, in some ways that can be really hard, just figuring out, what do you search and what video is going to show me the skill set that I'm wanting to learn in kind of the most efficient way. I'm not one for fluff when I'm learning. So, yeah, I would just say a combination of those YouTube videos and just truly just practice and calling upon mentors when needed as well. And I think just the lack of education in this space has really motivated me to change that. I recently found a quote, and I might butcher it, but it said something along the lines, if there's not something out there that you want or your younger self would have wanted, create it. And that's what I'm in the works of right now, is building out a set of digital courses to truly just cut the fluff and apply these kind of intimidating Adobe Creative Suites programs to what these AgCom enthusiasts really want to learn, right? Like we're trying to make logos, we're trying to make ads and graphics and content, we're trying to make short form videos, maybe some longer form videos. So I'm really trying to take this information and just condense it and deliver it to a student of any age that just wants to learn and maybe apply it to their own operation or apply it to their own, creative business where they can go out and serve other clients. Because at the end of the day, I'm a one-man team and Sweet Briar cannot serve them all, nor do I want to. So I'm just really excited to pivot and provide that service to kind of fill that need, fill that gap.
Yeah. And that's one thing I wanted to touch on, and I'd like to go back to your wedding stuff for just a minute and then continue on down the educational rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I think you have done a great job utilizing the platform you've already created, obviously, but sharing those educational tools. And I'm very excited to see what else comes from that, because I'm sure whatever it is will be fantastic and beneficial, because just like you said, I think especially in the ag world, we don't have a lot of time to, maybe do the trial and error sometimes. So having a resource that is got it figured out, tells you exactly what you need, is so beneficial and worth everything. So excited to see that. But going back to how you ended up in the video side of things, let's hear the story from the wedding industry, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. So as a junior in college, I really knew that, man, I was interested in video, right? And this was probably in like 2019, early 2020, but yes, fall of 2019, I knew that videography was a skill I wanted to pursue, but the little negative voice inside of my head was telling me, Alyssa, you have no opportunities to take a class like this at Iowa State. You don't have the finances to buy equipment, nor do you have cattle out your back porch to go film and practice at. So honestly, excuses that I made up in my own head was truly getting in the way of me learning. And I attended a wedding with one of my very close friends, and it was actually her older sister that was getting married. And I was my best friend's plus one. She was the maid of honor. So I was there from the very start of the day till the end. And I was sitting there that morning as the bride was getting her hair done. And she goes, the one thing I regret is not getting a videographer. And here I am, attending a wedding as a guest, which most young girls love to do. And I thought, well, I could just attend this as a guest, or I could probably do something that is going to further the skill set that I really want to learn. And so I told the bride, what do you think about me going through the day and videoing on my iPhone and truly just walking around like this and putting something together that you can just have, you and your husband can cherish privately for years to come. And she was all about it. She said, okay, if you want to do that, Alyssa, go for it. And I always joke, I think the professional photographer was about to bite my head off, because here she is, doing something that she has done for years. And she has this little college girl following her around with her iPhone. But she got through it. We both got through it. And that night I went home and immediately started editing, figuring out Premiere. This is the first set of footage that I truly got to learn how to put a story together, and edited all day that next day on Sunday. And Sunday night I send it to the bride, go to bed, kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? Monday morning I wake up and I had 4 brides DMing me on Facebook asking to book me for their wedding the following year. And I had no idea that the bride was going to put it on Facebook, had no idea who these other brides were that saw her video. And moral of that whole crazy, silly story is I said yes to those opportunities, not because I had any interest in being a wedding videographer, right? My heart was in the ag industry. I knew I wanted to serve clients in this space. But I also knew that, these brides were willing to pay me, which would lead to equipment. And I could, film the most important day of their lives and have such a special way to learn how to put a story together, how to use this intimidating platform that is Premiere Pro. And that next year, I ended up saying yes to 10 weddings. And through that experience, I truly just learned the skill sets that now I apply full time to the ag space. And I think it really helped me in a lot of ways. But one thing I really testify the wedding industry to teaching me is the power of emotion. And I think that's the thing that I just constantly hear from my clients. And it's probably the biggest compliment they can give a video I produce is just how rich and full they are of just raw emotion. And I attribute so much of that to filming the most important days of these brides' lives. So Don't film any weddings now. I will say I do a few just for random clients in the livestock space that pull my leg and get me back out there again. But it was definitely a great place to learn.
That's such a cool story that it kind of started on your iPhone, right? And I think sometimes we get in this mindset of, oh, I have to have the best quality equipment and all of the things in order to start, but sometimes just literally just starting is the important part.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So very, very cool. So then how did you kind of make that shift more to the ag space once you realize like, okay, I can do this, but I want to be back kind of where my heart is?
Great question. And this is the part of the story that truly gets me emotional sometimes because, like I told you earlier, I grew up a generation removed from ag. My last name has never held any weight in this space. And so I truly, had to make a name for myself and the services I provided. And so when I first started doing those weddings, and it also was the year of 2020, we kind of left that part of the story out, but all of the weddings happened in some shape or form. But because of everything that happened that year, I ended up losing my internship for that summer. They canceled it due to COVID, and I was crushed. It was at a pretty large agency in Wisconsin. It was truly like my dream internship. And for all of those college students or past college students listening, like it was the summer between my junior and senior year. So truly that money summer where you're kind of setting yourself up for what you want to do as a big girl, as an adult. And I was filming these weddings and knowing that I wanted to film in the ag space. And I just had to essentially get out of my comfort zone and make those cold calls. And so that summer, instead of taking a different remote position somewhere, I decided to really hustle and lean on the graphic design clients I'd built on Sweet Briar and try to get some ag-based clients. And so on the video side of things. So I actually moved to Texas for the summer. It's kind of a crazy story too. One of my really good friends in college had her internship still on in Dallas, and she wasn't a part of the ag industry at all, but the internship had given her an apartment. And she said, Alyssa, if you want, you can live out of this apartment with me over the summer since your internship was canceled, and you can try to make some video clients down here. And so I moved states and states away and was responsible for my own income that summer based on what I could find. And it just truly, it brings tears to my eyes just thinking about like the clients in Texas that said yes to me that summer with just a few wedding videos under my belt, nothing in the ag industry to show. And it's definitely projects that I, didn't get paid tons and tons of money for, but I got a little bit of money in my pocket. And more importantly, it got me the experience to really showcase what I can do for a brand and for an operation. And once I started doing those, the ball just kind of truly started rolling from there. And I still, to this day, don't pay for any advertising. Everything is through word of mouth and through what I promote through my channels and platforms for Sweet Briar. And I truly just owe so much to those clients that first said yes and took a chance on little Alyssa, and ended up obviously getting pulled back down to Texas after I graduated the year following. So Texas will always have such a special place in my heart.
Texas has that impact on people, I feel like.
It does. It's a great state for that.
Right? Yeah, no. And I think your kind of segue into that portion of your story of, your last name not necessarily having weight in the ag industry or sector, I think that can be a limiting factor for a lot of people. They don't maybe come from a high quality show background or, big farming operations or anything like that. But it's encouraging to know that if this is the space you want to be in, you can do it. It's just kind of maybe taking a little bit more grunt work in those beginning phases to put your hand out and be uncomfortable and really kind of stepping out of your box to do that. Because I do think there are people are going to be receptive to it. You just have to kind of get out of your own head sometimes to.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And just quit listening to that imposter syndrome. I mean, truly in college, it was probably one of the most embarrassing things about myself. And now I am probably the most proud of the fact that I'm self-made and independently started. And
I am so excited to now be working with Ag Gear, a brand that is more than just clothing, it's a true partner in the field. Ag Gear understands the hard work and dedication that farmers and ranchers put in every day because they share the same values. The team behind Ag Gear is composed of hardworking Americans who appreciate the grit and determination it takes to keep agriculture thriving. That's why their clothing is purpose built, crafted from advanced fabrics to withstand the long days and tough conditions that come with the job. From breathable gear for the summer to durable jackets for the winter, Ag Gear designs apparel that supports and protects those who feed the nation. Listeners can take advantage of a very special offer by using AgChicks at checkout to receive money back off your order. Again, that code is AgChicks at checkout. Looking for a snack that's American made and a premium product? Try Prime Plus Wagyu beef bars. Crafted from 100% American Wagyu beef, these bars are rich in flavor and packed with protein. Whether you're out in the field or sitting at a desk all day and need a quick bite, Prime Plus Wagyu gives you the clean, delicious energy you need without any of the additives you don't. Taste the difference of true quality with Prime Plus Wagyu. Beef with a purpose. Use code AGCHICKS at checkout for a discount.
I know that I have family that has taught me so much beyond just carrying kind of a last name or, acres or head of cattle. And yeah, I've just truly just made starting from scratch part of my identity in a lot of ways. My husband and I just started another business called Regal Cattle, and we're the proud owner of 3 cows, started with 2. But we truly just embody the fact that, like, if you want to do something, nothing is holding you back. Like, go out and chase that dream. Start from the ground up. You'd be so surprised how many other businesses started right where you're at. And yeah, don't let imposter syndrome hold you back.
Yeah, for sure. And as you've grown in your business and your services, now you really, I mean, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you specialize really in videography, correct? And that's kind of your bread and butter, if you will. And what other services do you kind of offer, or what does that look like in terms of working with you?
Yes, I would consider myself a very multi-passionate person, and I think a lot of creatives are. And for me, I think that's very much okay as a young adult, a young communicator. So I would still say you're completely right. Video takes up the majority of my time as a business owner. Graphic design still is a pretty big portion of the business. I think in the future, if I did start to narrow down, my heart is in the video side. So I think if I were to start, continuing to narrow that path, it probably would lean a little bit more on the videography side, but I'm still really enjoying the diversity of my workload. And so beyond just kind of the longer form storytelling videos, I also do a lot of shorter promotional style videos for clients. I am helping clients now basically learn the tools to make some short form videos themselves. And I'm really pumped up about that service. I think just empowering my clients to save their dollar and do more of that in-house is something I'm really interested in. And then on the graphic design side, man, logos are always a blast. I love the ad clients I get. Those services are definitely more of a routine service. So it allows me to touch base with my clients, especially on the ad graphic side, a lot more than just kind of one and done for logos and stuff like that. And then I have the illustration portion of the business too, which is smaller and definitely not as scalable as some other services. But that's actually the topic I just spoke on at Ag Media Summit. And it was so surprising to me just in my audience how many people had heard of Sweet Briar through illustrations of all things, not even what I would consider the biggest portion of the business being video. So I love the diversity. I am definitely loving the variety to my days and to my weeks, but video truly has my heart, and I think it shows.
Yeah, no, everything that you do is beautiful. But your videos, just they tell the story, and kind of going back to your comments about emotion, you can feel the emotion, even if it's the animal walking across the ring or out in the pasture, you just feel the story. So you are a masterful creator and capturer, no doubt.
Thank you for saying that. You were so sweet.
Of course, of course. But then kind of going back a little bit to the addition of the new business through the cattle. So
Sure.
what is y'all's goal, or like what's your plan with the cattle? Because I know that was exciting, and as someone who is now removed from a generational operation and kind of doing my own thing, that can be a exciting, stressful, challenging thing to kind of do some stuff on your own. So what has that been like for you guys?
Oh boy. Well, first of all, thank you for asking. I haven't gotten to speak about Regal on a podcast yet. And right now, I mean, I consider it like my little baby. It's just been so fun to watch it grow. And I would say a little bit of background on my husband and I. Only had the opportunity to show steers just in high school. And so I never, had a place to keep a heifer after the show ring. So I never got to show a heifer. So seeing the same cows out there, day after day, year after year, has something that has truly just brought so much joy into my life. I always joke that my husband is pretty much the only guy that could change me from a steer girl to a strong heifer girl. And he comes from a cow-calf operation up in Wisconsin where his brother and his brother's girlfriend still operates it today. And so Daniel, I truly lean on him for a lot of the day-to-day knowledge and the technicalities of what a cattle operation looks and flows like. But it's been truly so fun to start something so small and truly get to soak in all of the joys that come with raising cattle, right? Like, I think obviously we aspire to grow, and goals are great to have, but we really try to be intentional at pointing out the small things to be grateful for. And this past spring was our first opportunity to actually sell a product and to sell 2 calves that were on the ground out of the 2 calves that we started with. And that process was truly just such a joy. And one heifer is up in Oregon and the others in Nebraska. And Daniel and I just say constantly how grateful we are for those families that they took a chance on a small operation. They took a chance on an operation's first sale. And we truly could not be more lucky with the hands that they were brought into. And we credit that to the Lord. Absolutely. Like, I think the Lord has truly provided for Regal in ways that we could have never imagined, not having land, not having a truck and trailer. I mean, dude, we literally got nothing. Like we have nothing, but the Lord has just connected us with people here in Kansas that continue to just pour blessings into us, that have our best interests in mind and cheer us on. I think that's another thing that can be intimidating when starting a business from the ground up, because for whatever reason, you have more haters than you think you would ever, like, I don't understand what's intimidating about something so small. But for every person that kind of discouraged us, there was 10 others that had our backs and that truly would do anything to help us get started. And so that's what we want to be for producers. I think going back to your original question of what our goal is, we want to raise cattle that, give kids a wonderful experience in the show ring for that season of life. We think that there's so many benefits and so many things that an individual can learn in that space. But more importantly, we are so much more focused on what happens after that. And we hope we can provide females that people can build their own herds off of, that produce a calf crop that they can start to build their business off of, if that makes sense. So yeah, we're just passionate about young people starting businesses and starting from the ground up. And we're trying to live that out day to day and hoping we can help our clients do that too.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think the whole concept around the show industry and trying to provide that positive experience for youth to hopefully want to continue to be in agriculture or take those valuable life skills that they learn into whatever they might want to do is such an important thing to be a part of. So that's very admirable, and I wish you guys luck as you continue to grow the herd and experience all of the fun things that they bring and sometimes all the challenges. Right?
Exactly. Pros and cons both way. We're learning it all.
So what exactly brought you guys to Kansas?
Oh, great question, and very current question. So I originally grew up in Iowa, like we talked about. My husband's from Wisconsin. And so after I moved to Texas, my husband got a job in Salina, Kansas, actually as an embryologist. and loved his time in Salina, loved that position, and worked it for a few different years. And then at the beginning of this year, he actually accepted a different role. He works as a salesperson for a company that provides feed efficiency technology. It's called C-Lock. And that role basically allowed him to kind of pick where he wants to put roots down. It didn't kind of confine us to one state or another. He services a lot of different seed stock operations all over the country and a few international clients. So both of us had the flexibility to kind of pick and choose where we wanted to live. And a lot of people laugh that we picked right here in Kansas. But for us, the Flint Hills truly just captivated us pretty much from the moment we started to learn about them. And then when he was in Salina and I was in Fort Worth and we were doing that 6.5 hours of long distance for a few years, we both were driving through those Flint Hills on the way to and from seeing each other and just truly fell in love. I mean, it's cattle country. In our minds, it's heaven on earth for a cow. So we were setting roots here. Lord willing, obviously, if he changes that, we'll move, we'll go. But we're pumped with Kansas so far, and excited to just see how we can grow in community here. And for me and for Sweet Briar, I think being centralized in Kansas has a lot of perks. I chose Fort Worth to kind of expand the business in the South, and it was drivable for Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and some of those surrounding states. But now that I truly serve clients all over the place, I just need to be close to an airport or a few different airports. And I love to drive. And so being a little bit more like smack in the center of the United States is helpful to service some of those clients. So that's kind of how we ended up here.
I was going to ask about the travel portion too, because you kind of, like you mentioned, smack dab in the middle there in terms of being able to access different places. And how much are you traveling? Is it majority of your time is kind of on the road, or what does that look like for you?
I would say my answer now looks way different than the past, like consistently the past 3 years. I would say at this stage in the business, I still travel quite a bit, but I'm pivoting away from that. And I think a lot of different factors play into that. But truly, I feel like I want Sweet Briar to empower young people to kind of take over some of those, I guess, travel opportunities that I was really diving into. From here on out, I think, especially when I think about 2025 and 2026 goals, I would love to still travel to basically videos that are truly moving the needle and that can be used for more than just a sales season. Kind of capitalizing on some of those bigger projects for clients and brands, and then traveling to basically teach producers how to incorporate short form videos themselves. Because even though I love these emotion-based cinematic pieces that I get to create, sometimes those are not truly the most profitable option for producers. Sometimes they are, depending on, what the end goal is and what their audience wants to perceive. But I feel like, short form video is truly rising to the top, and consistent short form video that brings your audience in to get to know you and your operation. And it's not feasible for me to do that for all my clients. I can't be in 20 states at once filming what you're doing and the stories you get to tell. So I would much rather hop on Zoom or fly if you're an in-person learner and teach you what, equipment you need to use for this, and, how to post, what platforms you should be posting, the type of content you need to make, and just give you the tools that you need to succeed as an operation. So I've started doing a little bit more of that, and it's been so fun to watch my clients really just take hold of it and run with it. And I just see my travel probably looking a lot more like that in the future, as well as just getting the honor to go and speak. This past week, we were talking about my time at the Ag Media Summit, and getting to speak all 3 days at that conference was so much fun. And I love when I get the call to speak on a podcast or to speak at a school or anything in between. And I still definitely want to make it a priority to travel for opportunities like that, because I find it to be so important.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of going down the speaker realm here a little bit. I mean, obviously you kind of touched on it in terms of like the coaching and creating some opportunities and resources for clients. But when you are asked to speak, is there like certain things that you talk about, or what's kind of your niche, I guess, in terms of the speaking world?
Yes, great question. I think if you would have asked me right out of college, my ego would step in and say, oh, it's definitely video, right? Or it's how I create these graphic design pieces. And I think some opportunities do ask me just to share my knowledge in those spaces, but more so I've grown to become so passionate about empowering people of all ages to consider what it would mean to make an income for themselves. I think that as a young adult, you don't get told that that's a possibility as much as you do to go spend the majority of your time working for somebody else. Like I think, and there is nothing wrong with corporate life at all. But I want people to consider that, your 9 to 5 is truly the most hours in your day. You will spend more hours working in your life than you will do anything else, most people at least. And in my opinion, you need to love the strong majority of those hours. There's no such thing as a dream job. Sweet Briar has some not so glamorous days, but I think if you're not loving what you're doing, you can pivot. And one of those options is starting a business for yourself in whatever capacity that looks like. And so I think when I go and speak, whether it's the past speaking opportunities I've gotten or opportunities in the future, I love when they're centralized around that topic. And I love answering the questions on, like, how do I start an LLC? Or like, how do you get your finances straight to know that this can sustain me full time? Or how do I differentiate myself in this very saturated industry? Questions like that just light me up, right? I just want to see more young people believe in themselves that they can do it, whether it's starting a side hustle or jumping full time.
Yeah, and I think as agriculture continues to kind of catch up with the times, I guess, a little bit in terms of really taking what some of the other industries have been doing for a while and infusing that into what we currently do. I think there's going to be a lot more need and a lot more opportunities for that. So just having individuals who understand if there's an interest in there, pursue it like that. That's an opportunity. And that's kind of a premise through Ag Chicks, is to allow individuals to hear what other women are doing, and maybe that sparks a light inside themselves. So everything you're doing, I think is great, and I'm hoping that someone who's listening will be able to use Alyssa as a resource, or maybe get themselves thinking in a different mindset a little bit. Last kind of question as we wrap up, which I probably should have started with this question, but how did you decide on the name Sweet Briar Creative?
I love when I get this question, and it's totally my fault that there's confusion around it because I named the business it and it's confusing. But so like we talked about, like the business didn't start with me thinking I was going to take it full time and I was going to be tied to it for the rest of my life. And when I did name the business, it was when my dad actually approached me and said, Alyssa, when you're adding these wedding videos, your income for this side hustle is getting to the size that you need to declare it as an LLC. We need to make this legit for tax purposes. And he's like, do you just want us to file it as, Alyssa Scholl's Designs or Alyssa Scholl's Video? And I said, no, I don't think I want that, because kind of, and this is such a God thing, but around the same time period, I was taking an entrepreneurship class, just fell upon it essentially at Iowa State. And it was going to be a part of my general business minor. And in this entrepreneurship class, I remember my professor telling us very early on that if you're going to name a business, or not even just name a business, but if you're going to start a business, begin with the end in mind and have an exit strategy. And I think if I truly knew the impact SBC was going to have, I would have a really hard time doing that, right? Because a lot of us business owners just grow so fond and connected to our businesses. Like, how could we possibly even imagine selling it?
Right.
But at that point, it was just a portfolio. So I kind of told myself, well, if by a small chance it does grow to be big enough where after I graduate, it's worth something, I will name it something that's not attached to my name so I can sell it to somebody else. Crazy. But so that's what I did. And I thought potentially it might be in the wedding space. It might be in the ag space. I didn't want to do a super livestock heavy name because of like the wedding clients that I had. And so I pulled out my mom's gardening books, just started flipping through them, making a big list of names of flowers I like. And most of the time when I'm telling this story, I'm wearing something with flowers on it. And I'm wearing what I call a vintage SBCT. This is like the first t-shirt we sold, and it has flowers on it from our first logo. So checks out there. But yeah, flowers have just always been a strong part of my identity. And so the Sweet Briar Rose came to the top of that list. I felt like Rose was a name that might be potentially overused in my eyes in terms of naming a business. So I cut that off and added the word creative just to kind of encompass anything that I was interested in pursuing under that umbrella. And SBC was started. And I obviously would never change the name now. It has brand recognition. But it does always make me giggle when I get an inquiry through my website and someone says, "Good morning, Briar. How are you?" And I laugh and I'm like, "Hi, my name's Alyssa." But yes, good question. I get that question all the time. I truly should make a video, I think, explaining that story, because I think there's probably quite a few people that are curious about it and just don't know. And it's a sweet story.
No, it's super sweet story. And I like knowing like name origin stuff like that, because I think it just adds to the whole story.
Yes.
But also very helpful, like entrepreneurial advice there in terms of not naming things your own name because of looking at the end goal. But I relate to that too in terms of like, yes, it's there. I know what needs to happen, but it also feels very difficult to have that approach sometimes too. But
Yeah.
love the name. Love the name.
Thank you. We're stuck with it now.
Right? I know sometimes, and you're like, dang, maybe I should have done something different. But no, I think obviously yours is creative and differentiating, and so it definitely works and fits with everything that you're doing. But as we kind of wrap up, what would be a way for people to get in touch with you, or what's maybe your process of working with individuals if they were wanting to reach out for resources, coaching, whatever services you offer?
Great question. I would say the best and quickest way to get a hold of me is filling out the inquiry form on my website. And you can find that linked on pretty much any social media platform I'm active on. If you DM me, I will see it, but I won't see it quickly, probably. I'm still catching up on DMs from this past week, and I feel like I'm always one step behind in that space. But I'm always directing people towards my website. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me. If you want to, set up a Zoom call to chat, if you're a small business owner and you just have questions, or if you want to take advantage of any of the services I apply, I'm happy to provide quotes and information through that platform.
Awesome. Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me. I know I definitely got a lot out of our conversation, and I know my listeners will as well. And I look forward to continuing to watch all the exciting things that you're doing, and maybe this next kind of phase of Sweet Briar Creative too. So exciting stuff coming, and thank you again for spending time with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me and being such an attentive and great listener. And I just really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Ag Chicks. Don't forget to follow along on social media at Ag Chicks for more agricultural related content, and also be sure to check out your favorite podcast gear from www.agchicks.net. We'll see you next time.